Hello, everybody. Happy 2020. For me, this is actually still December 28th, and I just found out that I'm going to have to take more time away from school than I had originally intended, which means that it is now for you January 21st, and I'm doing some more screencasts so that we can make sure that we stay on track with everything. So hopefully you will have these timed writes that you did the other day in class being turned back to you and critiqued with some suggestions on how to make them better. You're going to use that to help you um, build something for your major paper 3. So whatever it is that you wrote for your timed write, I want you to think about that as being kind of like the basis of what argument you're going to be making, and that'll help you a little bit. Okay, so today you're going to have your first group meeting for Major Paper 3 or Major Project 3. Remember that I want you to be working in groups of 4 for this project. In period 5, there can be a couple groups of 3, but I want you to focus more on trying to get into a group of 4. So in your group today, what you're going to be doing is you're going to share your timed writes with each other, and you're going to discuss um, like which part of the timed write do you think was the best for you, um, and like combining things together and going with like what's your best main ideas that the 4 of you wrote about together. So in those groups of 4, you also want to um, assign roles for each other. So your leader, group leader, is going to be the person in your group who you believe has the best organization skills and the best people skills to keep you guys all on track and make sure that everybody is completing what they're supposed to be doing. That person should probably be in charge of taking the arguments now that you've all written, your 4 timed writes, and put them together in a way that pulls them into one argumentative piece of writing. So it's not all these different people's ideas. Okay. Then you want to have someone in your group who's responsible for doing all the background research. So, background research for your topic, for example, if I went with the topic that I was doing about conversation, and how I want to have a personal conversation with everyone, meaningful conversation, and how that improves overall happiness, I would need to do background research on the psychology of face to face conversation versus computerized conversation or text messaging or letter writing. I would have to do some background research into like the topic of happiness. Um, and I would want to talk a little bit about how that happiness makes a difference to our daily lives and like what serotonin does to our bodies and how that is generated and blah blah blah. So that's all background research, and someone should be focused on that part. Then interviewers. So if you are a person in the group, you are responsible for interviewing. I'd like to have each person write an interview, but you can have one person responsible for conducting all the interviews. This would be the person that you want to see the most camera time when this turns into a documentary, because your interviews are going to be recorded and they will be part of your documentary, portions of them. You can choose whether the person wants to appear on film or if you want to just do an interview with just the person that you're interviewing. The only person in the camera is the person that you're interviewing. But have someone be responsible for that, maybe more than one person. A person who does the background research can also do an interview, and the field research person can also do an interview. So everyone should think about doing one interview, but this person would be responsible for pulling it all together and like writing them up. Okay, field research. This person who chooses this idea, they have to come up with the idea for the field research. Field research can take many forms. It can be an experiment. It can be a self-conducted experiment, one that you do with yourself. So for example, a few years ago, I had kids who did introverts versus extroverts in school, and thinking about if the introverts switch places with the extroverts and try to be more extroverted, would that improve their performance in school? And extroverted kids, if they were to hold back in class, would that also affect their performance in school for the good or for the bad? And so they did that for a series of 3 weeks, that they had they kind of like switched roles. And so that was their field research. And then they also did surveys with people who self-identified as introverted or extroverted, and how, what their grades were like, to kind of see that. So decide who in your group is going to be responsible for the field research, coming up with the idea, and like actually carrying out the field research. Those are the four major parts of this project and paper: an argument, background research, interviews, and field research. So all of that information, you kind of want to have one person in charge of like pulling it together for you. And again, all of you should be conducting an interview, but one person should be responsible for like making sure that it ends up in the paper. Okay. Today, as homework, I want you to make sure you're doing background research from suitable sources to help support your argument, and to also give background information about things that people need to know about before they understand your paper. Okay. Once you're done listening to me and taking a look at the handout, you will have time to work together in your group. Should have plenty of time today, at least half an hour, to get yourselves organized and deciding what you're going to be doing. There is a handout that's going to go along with this. I just have to create it, obviously, yet. So when the time comes around that the screencast will happen, there will be a handout link here that Mr. Freiberg can get for you. All right. Have great days, guys.